Hello everyone, welcome back to Simple Understanding. Today, we're summarizing The Outsiders, 8 Unconventional CEOs and Their Radically Rational Blueprint for Success by William N. Thorndike, Jr. This book is about a simple but powerful question. Why do some CEOs create extraordinary long-term value, while others run famous companies but produce average results? Thorndike studies 8 unconventional CEOs who did not behave like typical corporate leaders. They were not always media celebrities. They did not always chase growth for the sake of growth. They did not always follow Wall Street expectations. Instead, they focused on one thing better than almost anyone else: capital allocation. In simple English, capital allocation means deciding what to do with the company's money. Should the company invest in operations? Should it buy another company? Should it pay dividends? Should it buy back its own shares? Should it reduce debt? Should it sell weak businesses? The Outsiders teaches that great CEOs are not only managers, they are investors inside their own companies. What failed? The failure in many companies is that CEOs focus too much on size, sales growth, headlines, and short-term earnings. They want the company to look bigger. They open more divisions. They make acquisitions because competitors are doing it. They chase revenue even when the return is weak. But Thorndike shows that bigger is not always better. A company can grow revenue and still destroy value. A company can acquire many businesses and still become weaker. A company can look successful in the media but still give poor returns to shareholders. The real failure is this: many CEOs are promoted because they are good at operations, sales, engineering, or politics. But when they become CEO, their most important job becomes capital allocation, and many are not trained for it. That is dangerous, because every dollar inside a company has a job. If the CEO sends that dollar to the wrong place, the company becomes weaker over time. Which operational or strategic decision caused it? The biggest mistake is using capital without discipline. Some companies invest in projects just because they have the money. Some acquire competitors just to become larger. Some keep weak divisions alive because managers are emotionally attached to them. Some issue too many shares and dilute owners. Some pay dividends when better opportunities exist inside the business. The outsider CEOs did the opposite. They were independent thinkers. They were calm. They were analytical. They did not care much about looking impressive. They cared about results. For example, Henry Singleton at Teledyne became famous for buying back shares when he believed the stock was cheap. John Malone at TCI used debt, tax strategy, and deal-making carefully to build value. Katharine Graham at the Washington Post made rational, long-term decisions even when she was under pressure. Warren Buffett at Berkshire Hathaway became the clearest example of treating the CEO role as a capital allocation role. The operational lesson is this: it is not enough to run the business well. The CEO must also decide where the money should go next. This applies directly to supply chains and operations. Imagine a company with limited cash. Should it build a new warehouse, buy automation, increase inventory, enter a new market, acquire a supplier, improve quality systems, build a digital platform? If the CEO chooses wrong, the company may look busy but become weaker. If the CEO chooses right, the company becomes more valuable, more resilient, and more competitive. Which framework explains it? The framework of the book is rational capital allocation. A CEO has only a few main choices for using money: invest in the existing business, acquire other businesses, pay dividends, buy back shares, pay down debt. And a CEO has only a few main ways to raise money: use internal cash flow, borrow money, issue shares, sell assets. The outsider CEOs became exceptional because they compared these choices rationally. They asked, where can $1 create the highest long-term return? This sounds simple, but most companies do not behave this way. Many companies follow trends. They copy competitors. They chase fashionable strategies. They want to please analysts. They avoid unpopular decisions. The outsiders ignored the noise. They were willing to be different if the math made sense. Another important framework in the book is per-share value. Normal CEOs may focus on total company size. Outsider CEOs focused on value per share. Why does this matter? Because if a company grows by issuing too many shares, each owner may own a smaller piece of the business. The company becomes bigger, but the shareholder may not become richer. The outsider CEOs understood this clearly. They cared about the value of each share, not just the size of the company. Real-world examples from the book and modern parallels. The first example is Henry Singleton and Teledyne. Singleton was not a typical CEO. He was an engineer and independent thinker. When acquisition prices were attractive, he bought companies. When his own stock was cheap, he bought back shares. He did not follow a fixed formula. He changed strategy based on opportunity. Modern parallel. Think about Apple. Apple does not only make iPhones, it also decides how to use huge cash flows, investing in products, services, supply chains, chips, stores, and share repurchases. The lesson is not that every company should copy Apple. The lesson is that cash flow must be allocated with discipline. The second example is John Malone and TCI. Malone understood cash flow, taxes, debt, and long-term compounding. He operated in cable television, a business that required infrastructure, scale, and smart financing. He was not trying to look simple. He was trying to maximize long-term value. Modern parallel. Think about Amazon. It also decides how to use huge cash flows, investing in fulfillment centers, logistics, AWS, technology, and customer experience. Many people judged it by short-term profit, but the deeper story was capital allocation. Cash was being used to build long-term capabilities. The third example is Katharine Graham and the Washington Post. Graham did not begin as the typical powerful CEO, but she made disciplined decisions, surrounded herself with strong people, and helped build long-term value. She also showed that great leadership is not always loud. Sometimes it is calm, rational, and patient. Modern parallel. Think about companies facing digital disruption today. Media companies, retailers, and logistics firms must decide where to invest, old business models or future platforms. The wrong decision can slowly kill the business. The fourth example is Warren Buffett and General Dynamics. Buffett is the most famous capital allocator in the book. Berkshire became a machine for moving capital from lower return opportunities to higher return opportunities. The lesson is not just investing in stocks. The lesson is thinking like an owner. Modern parallel. In supply chain, this is like deciding whether to own warehouses, outsource logistics, acquire suppliers, or build technology internally. The best answer depends on return, risk, timing, and competitive advantage. The fifth example is General Dynamics under Bill Anders. Instead of chasing size, Anders sold weak assets, focused the company, and returned capital when that made more sense than empire building. This is a very important lesson. Sometimes the best decision is not expansion. Sometimes the best decision is focus. Modern model. If a company has too many product lines, too many warehouses, too many markets, and too many weak operations, growth can become a trap. Cutting complexity can create more value than adding more. Modern supply chain lesson. This book is not only for investors, it is also useful for supply chain leaders, because supply chain decisions are capital allocation decisions. Building a new factory is capital allocation. Adding automation is capital allocation. Holding more inventory is capital allocation. Changing suppliers is capital allocation. Opening a new distribution center is capital allocation. Investing in ERP, AI forecasting, or warehouse robotics is capital allocation. The wrong decision can lock the company into high fixed costs, slow operations, and weak returns. For example, if a retailer builds too many warehouses before demand is proven, it may increase cost and complexity. If a manufacturer buys expensive automation before stabilizing the process, it may automate waste. If an e-commerce company expands too fast without profitable unit economics, growth becomes dangerous. The outsiders would ask one simple question: what is the return on this decision? Not just, does it sound exciting? Not just, are competitors doing it? Not just, will it increase revenue? But will it create long-term value per share? Key takeaways. First, CEOs are not only operators, they are also capital allocators. Second, growth is not always good. Bad growth destroys value. Third, cash flow matters more than accounting appearance. Fourth, per share value is more important than company size. Fifth, the best CEOs are often independent thinkers who ignore fashionable trends. Sixth, share buybacks, acquisitions, dividends, debt, and reinvestment are tools, not strategies by themselves. The right tool depends on price, timing, and opportunity. Seventh, supply chain leaders can learn from this book because every major operational decision uses capital. Eighth, the best companies do not just ask, how can we grow? They ask, where should we put money to create the highest long-term value?
The Outsiders teaches a powerful lesson. Successful CEOs do not need to be loud, charismatic, or popular. They need to be rational, disciplined, patient, and focused on results. The real message of the book is simple. A great CEO is not just someone who runs the company. A great CEO is someone who knows where to place the company's money. Because over time, the difference between average companies and exceptional companies often comes down to one thing: better decisions with capital. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to Simple Understanding, and ring the bell for more practical business and supply chain lessons. And tell me in the comments, which book should we summarize next?